color combinations is very important. Build it up in layers and you never go all out from the beginning. You change the layout, declutter the space, a fresh lick of paint, or probably just changing the upholstery, adding new cushions, rearranging things.
And today people are evolving their thinking towards colors as well. Like when you look at interiors which were there in the good old days, right? It was basic colors, right? I would not call it pastel colors also. It was basic colors like whites, and people would just resort to that. Now you see homes having colors, right? And all of that. But how do you balance colors? And you need to create depth of that field so that your house looks big, grand, even if it's a small space. How do you balance that? And there is a follow-up question to it, which you can probably look at it together. You coming on when the space is already designed, does that, when I say design, it's constructed, does it really help, or do you need to get involved much early on so that you're not just trying to do a patchwork with colors, as an example, from a recommendation? And where does that stop? Do you also get involved in the color of the house or the walls and all of that? So I know it's a well-rounded, or it's a much more bigger question, but it kind of links to color, your involvement. Where does it start, and where do you start, or where do you stop, basically?
Right. So what happens is there are two situations when I come in. One is when it's a fresh new start, like you're doing a new home completely. And say if I'm working with an architect or an interior designer, I come in when the material board is ready. So halfway through the project, while the work is still ongoing and the tiles are being laid, the flooring is being laid, your elevations are not yet complete, the windows are still getting integrated, and that's where I come in to understand what's the floor plan, what is the material board, the selection of the hard materials. That helps me to kind of propose a lot of things going forward. So it's not patchwork at the end where it's kind of done and then I come in and all I have to do is add elements. That's when you would literally be doing like surface ornamentation, and I don't think it's adding a lot of value because it's doing things in hindsight rather than planning it ahead of time. And balance, scale, proportion, color combinations is very important. And as you rightly mentioned, balancing colors. So if we are working together on a project, a lot of times we work with paint samples, which are then approved based on the flooring or the veneers, and we try and integrate the whole look into one. And when we want to add colors, I always suggest that you follow your 70, 60, 30 and 10% rule, where 60% is your base, like your foundation, your overall color, be it like your egg white or be it a taupe or whatever your neutral color is. And then you give a splash, like a second element, which is like your another 30%. And that kind of is one of the bigger elements, like one couch in a bedroom that can have a pop of color. And then you have your last 10%. What did I get it right? 30, 10. Yeah, I'm a little bit weak in math. So 10% is when your bold pop of color comes in. So it could be cushions or a throw or a bed cover, or see a nice artwork hanging above the bed or on one of the walls. So you build it up in layers and you never go all out from the beginning. So your colors are integrated like that. And through the entire space, the color remains the same in the sense the foundation is the same. We don't enter into a green room and then suddenly you enter into a pink room and into a blue room. When you walk through your home, like I said in the beginning, you want to feel that every space is kind of cohesive and it's harmonious and it works on your subconscious mind. So it's nice to get a feel of one color throughout the home. And of course, every room can have its own character. If it's a kid's room, you can play with colors. Again, a little bit pops of a pop art or their own elements of the storybooks and their fun toys and all that. And again, if it's a family room, you can bring out elements using leather, hardbound books, all of those accessories. So every room can have its own character, but I say in the sense of color, binding the whole thing, it's a good element to use, which will you kind of integrate all the spaces into one. And as I was explaining, that my role is halfway through the project so that we can work together as a team and ensure that we go to the last leg, planning everything ahead of time. For example, if I feel I want to do like a gallery wall of family pictures, or we want to integrate this wall is totally empty and I want to build an open bookshelf, so we can get that, or we can integrate it at the time of construction if it has to be straight done on site on the walls. So all these elements of the concepts and design which one needs to visualize beforehand is great if it happens at this stage. And the second situation that I come in is when someone's home is done. For example, now you've appointed an interior designer or an architect and your home is ready. And a couple of years down the line, there is something that we all need to keep sprucing up our home or our space or your office or whatever that is. So that's when I come in again, because you don't need to do structural changes now. So we are very clear that we don't do any structural changes. There's no bricking and no civil and plumbing. And when we want to spruce things around, I could probably, you're done with the old furniture. If you're happy to remove it, we could remove it or reupholster it. You change the layout, declutter the space, a fresh lick of paint, or probably just changing the upholstery, adding new cushions, rearranging things, totally revamps the space in a very beautiful way. So in that sense also, entire the journey of changing the elements which are where you're not committed to, like you can't change, say, the veneer. You don't want to change the veneer of your wardrobe. You don't want to change the flooring. All that is not happening. So when you're working in your home, I always tell my clients, use something and be farsighted. Don't make something at that point which is exciting and looking in trend or so colorful and bright, because it's going to start looking dated. It's start going to be, you're going to get bored of it over a period of time. And most importantly, you can't layer things along the way if it's so strong. If it's making a statement right from the beginning, there is no more scope to layer it in terms of design. So it's I explain to my clients, it's like foundation. When you're working, you use your foundation, which is just there to hold everything else that's going to happen later.
I hope you enjoyed this clip from my podcast series called Masters Decoded. The intention of bringing these clips to you is to allow you to understand some key moments of the conversations I've had with my guest. I would recommend and highly encourage you to listen to the entire podcast, which you can find the link to the podcast in the description below. I look forward to you subscribing to my channel and hit the bell icon so that you can be notified of all the future clips which we keep releasing every week on this channel.